يكي يخستيني الشيش يا كيتي وجين خنخوي يكي يا خانا أيا قلت وسقو يا نيك خوخو أتخيا قختو تو وجين أقا أوي يا كاخوان إيش يختنجي داتي جاختوني يا أوي تليركي خط وديق أيا وي إيلان قال ياخد لاق يا يكي قا خوستين واسا أتبوني أتلينا قدزتي أوي كشوك جشجون أتوخ يتلك سلايدر يدو أسا كخوسكو تلتلنكت ساي قستي واسات لقاو يقنخ يا تكتوي تساتنخدي جوي يا تلتا ساو تو آخ تلياتك جادي خدنيو يا أوي يا يكي أختوسكو Ḳukaháa tlaen de tuasago ha inkayanigi awa adat we atcha aqa Wooch we neek x'úx'u dat yuqaqaj tutlaat. Yaqewe kutas itzu Juan tlaen Led Zeppelin ach sani hasxsati. Ye awa qonachwe has ashagug ade atla achjiye. Ach tuasago Jimmy Page khatwusatiin. Ya idat qo atlatu khatsati. Itchakutka qone kakwala ach katutlaq quk ye oi ach tuasaku. Yengeyone Juan tlaene it qoha.
Gunnar chish ach kanuko ach tlauk yisitin ga ach tlauk Mama Sean Yudusagun little old mother ach tlauk aya kunach isichan chatsachan. I love her very much. Okay, I'm going to share. Oh, not that. I think it's in here. Can you guys see the screen? Yes, I told you. I think it's on the it's homework on the 13th, but after I did this, I think it might be here. And here it is, and I need to bring it down a little bit so that I can open it. Okay. Yeah, food sentences for our favorite food. I'm doing this on my own to try to do it. Ach tlauk sau at yudusagun yeha awakak. Yende awa ach Rwander II Yudusagun Reliance Dock. I don't know how to say. I wrote over there, I said she used to tie up at the Reliance float. She always came alone. I didn't know how to say she always came alone. She never brought her husband up to the house. It was interesting. And then I could just, right here, she would come to see my mother, her younger sister. And I got with Awakak, she would visit her. Ach tla, Shanugatla yu dusagun, du at uwa gut, ach tlauk, sau at. Kunach ach tuusigu aus 15. I was always so happy to see her. Ach tla, ya, I was shot. Kayu, ayaw sakat, lingit enach. Would hold my mother's face and talk tlingit to her. Tle, gase e sakunen out leyech. Oh, I said she built, so then she would build fry bread. Au wachen ha'in we tlauk. She served us canned plums to us. Tlauk gach to cheat eat Ḳukaháa. We dipped our fry bread into it.
Mm.
ʼadudli.átk. That was my favorite food. Wooch.
Look away.
Goodness cheese.
Goodness cheese.
Cheese.
Ish. Ḳukaháa. Kleynach Puchten.
So yeah,
Hashi's due to us good canned peaches.
Ah, yeah. Gucha two gweeches.
Gweeches.
Juan saying Kleynach at na Puchten. She used to go around by herself. Goodness.
Sue Annika, she used to go around by herself.
Kleynach at na Puchten.
One.
Kleynach on its own is just one person.
Mhm.
And so it doesn't, it can mean lonely. Like if you just say Kleynach wuti,
Mm.
they were by themselves. A lot of people might assume that they were lonely,
Mm.
but it doesn't always mean that. And then Kleynach just in front of a verb would be to do it by yourself. It literally just means one person. Kleynach, nach, naskinach.
Juan Lane. Tlach. How do we say ant? Tlach. We yak. Kleynach.
he had Wander the second, Wander the first. He had, I think, 3 boats.
But was she just by herself on the boat, or just
I was
came
young.
up to see you by herself?
She always came up to the house from the float by herself, and she'd bring her bag. It was always in the evening, the same time of year when fishing was over, like about now. It was getting dark and it was wintry.
Mhm.
And it was a lot colder at this time when we were younger. Right now, everything would be frozen here in Wrangell when we were kids. And she would come up from the dock, and she was always alone every time she came. She never brought her husband. He was probably doing other things when they pulled in. When she used to visit me when she was, you know, towards the end of her life, when she was like 94, she would sleep on my couch, and I would go to wake her up, and she would always say, "Why did we stop running?" I said, "We're not on the boat." "Where are we?" I said, "Wrangell." "Oh, Wrangell's so clean," she always used to say. "Wrangell's so clean." The river. But she would be sleeping away there. I'd wake her up, and she'd always say that to me. "Why did we stop running?" But anyway, she was always on a boat and moving around. I was raised on a troller when I was little. And, you know, they'd hand me off from troller to troller. So I was with lots of my family. Here, catch. No, that's shot. Yeah, so it was really hard to, because I really loved Ḳukaháa's food. Her favorite food. Oh, it looked so beautiful in that white dish. She had potato spuds and fish and eggs. And I was thinking, oh, my favorite food. But my favorite food is hot dogs, really. And pizza. I didn't want to tell you guys about that. But, you know, that other food we eat all the time, moose meat and deer meat and fish. I like pizza and hot dogs. Woo-hoo. My husband said, "No, hot dogs. Hot dogs takes 36 minutes off your life." Newsflash. Anyway.
Plague. Gusue Kusin Dach. Where was she coming from? Dach. Gusue Yati Kusin Itlach.
Oh, Sa'at. I love Ḳukaháa's pictures from her favorite food. But Tlawk,
Oh, sau'at.
Kaaxwaan Éesh Sh. Tlawk. Sau'at you dusagun Tlawk.
Goodness cheese.
Arranged marriage. She loved her first husband the most.
Ooh.
And her third husband was the funnest. And she hated her second husband's guts. She told me.
Woof. Skasnigi. Away.
Achtak Ḳukaháa Shkalniki.
Kuna.
Goodness cheese, Francine.
Nachnachachuzati ya gudachsakuwatin. Gudachsawukuch.
Oh, goodness cheese.
Gudach.
Gudachsa. Gudachsa.
One plane. Yidat ich kat sakanen isa ige.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can. Her recipe was with baking powder. Mine's with yeast. Is that what you were asking me?
I tried, yeah.
I can cook it, but my husband, he's pretty health-minded. Too much grease. I can't do that though. I like grease.
Hot too.
Ha'ikidach ha'ikik oechon kiyan. Navajo aya yuhas ayasa.
Oh.
Hasta ani dach away we saknin kahuk. Bluebird you do a sock. Ich kat saknin to a saguyatli. Yeah, away ye ide kakwanik. Aya ade o outliech. Ya ach kliech. Ach kla du kla. Cajun guka shawa hick. We saknin kahuk. Chatka a bluebird ach to a sagu. Yeah, away. Aka away. Cleich guka shawa hick. We clinuxi cleo. Ach a sugar you do a sago. Wasa a itch. Gush Cajun shall plain. Baking powder a ka day. A ka cleich a shall. We age. Ye away. Wooching aya. Ye na sne we kahuko at. A ka away. We wasis latachani a ka day. Gwash nask guka. Dech guka shaw. Shachle hick a ka de kachsacha. Woosht aya yechsene. Ya chakone. Tesh. Kaudu a chuhuts a yachiti a yanach just a yego gink a yanach would it up a ka yande yeker quati. Ye awa, tis yata okay. Gonna chi shuhan. We neek kucho agi too. Ach to us gucho achi dat. Yisiku ya yidat ya achilk. Kunach kayat enach recipe. Super secret. Ye awa. Kak kunik. Neek kucho ka. Adusa du jiwo. Oh, we blue. Hechwasaku dat yachsa. Keshk. Chwasatin we. Dat yachsa.
Flour.
Hastu at sati golki we.
Oh, flour.
Ah.
Goodness cheese.
Sakmun kahuk.
I did the boarding school one. That was a hard one. So I just reported on it about how the Institute was from the beginning to the end, but I haven't put it in Tlingit enough yet.
Yata yachawe we sakne hook daka guili.
Goodness, sheesh.
Ati ko atcha sa kuka fasa ani bach aya. Yakawe chwasatin ya ach. Gwal jin kat ka Cajun talk shu hin. Ḳukaháa Éish Sh Klein Káxwaan we Wooch Novel you do a sago atlet Káxwaan Navajo Ḳ'úx'u adat ya achuni Navajo sati Dene awa you haswit sago ye awa Ḳukaháa itu agasaku haani de Qututini Khate aqunach awa tuasaku ye awa hastu ani Ḳukaháa khat Ḳukaháatin ya hastu ani Chosatin Gallup by you a sock with Ḳukaháa we on Walmart puts a tea tea ayit good Tlakudzi aya we Walmart got 90% shukatku away ayik khatka Tlha Walmart yach uti ya kunachwe shukatku aayí Chosatin ya saknin kahug gwail kunachwe kautua chuk ha wasat nanin wasat ya nanin was ya at nanin wita in o kunachwe yak ich kat saknin with the tligich on o yak kakwa khuni ya awe khwa neek aya kakhwa ya Fairbanks yekutu uwun ya awa Wooch achawe Ḳukaháa ya kunachwe Ḳukaháa tlda sacha we Amazon has du jidach atli dana du jiwu kunachwe shiqaiq Uber ya saknin kahuk has du jidach ayachwa Wal chaguta we Eka shukatku jidachach to asaguchwa tlelyach watlach ye awa ya gwal ach to asagu tsu yisatin yata we neek ayachwa tu yayagi Aqa ayakachwashi dasach to asagu atatu chachtani tlingit inach atlain we Hechosaku wasagachtu sa headline just we neek klein hechosaku shuchwa neek yata ko achwat ya achtu ye ke awe chwatu hechosaku kotzati yata ich kai you hasaya saklet kachinach ye awe I smile ich kai ye awe klech kai kanach aya Haska kwa akawe has with the touch klech kai ye awa hasi to asako koa konachawe saat ohin kwash jin nusk jin kat awe degrees hasi to asako tlasla ya nach ut hasi to asako aka klech kai akanachawe gachtu touch Dasa in koa just the touch na adi uski ka the touch waqtana ye awe tlal dasa tsu tlal wetsuit ka dry suit tlal sai kustiga tlal wita ka tlal hasu toashku tlal ye awe hechwasaku adat khat koa tlidzi ayat tlal kai anachaya kakwat arch What tlal kwatlaq Ye awe hokalea you do a sak hastu yagu ya Hawaii ku'u va'a you do a sak hastu you khatangi tin ya shingat ani da aya has a kautlitz is Gwashe to asagu hastu yagu yiktewe wa etsu hastu in chisati Kleich kai anach kuk it arch Ye awe test you do a sagu at ye awa quwwateki. Yata qoa tlakudzi. Uhan we tlakat we talk one qanins hatu wasugu nuch. We saati hinde just wo good qoa. Tlat wutu the touch. Ako achaguta hasti to asugu. Ikliat gate kautua akwe challenge ayakat katu neek. Wash kudu dek ye awe wutu asa. Yek we neek cook. Kanachawe has aus kucho a dasa ach to asugu o. Letage to asugu. One qanins. We Kyoda to asugu yitlatini. Aquashe yis. An katushit daka gweshige to asaku. Tleshkakwa uko Achdana ye has to asaku tlachhunachawe. Gotlisatin. Gulchishach 80 sa achi.
Kawu de Kla de Huniawe was Cheryl Fellman. Tatke Khana Cheryl Fellman adat you wooch out ʼúx'u. Lidziaya were eight heeny talk yayati Litzinawe shawat Litkudi Yakecha.
How? Gulchish. Ach to a case cool.
Ikusiat. Chokut Chokut Yishadak ne aus ice headache for Ḳukaháa. We used and we used to bathe in the glade in Seek Heaney.
Ha. Lidzi.
You were tough.
Litzin shawat.
Gwash Kedushu talk shuakiki wutudi shuch hikli ish ka du class okrek kunach lidzi ka ega si art we 18 yek e
Yak ege?
lidzi ka yek e koa.
Sheesh.
Yatich. Etach kegruchtlitzin. Eta et. Ye awachat hitli ish. One qanins way. Saat hinde wutua art. Tleidihin gosh. Cajun talk shoe hin yak dat kechat wutien. Wait atsu. Has khat khewa wuzi tiwa gesagu saati hinde gachtu ati. Tletsin kachage. Ye awa achtu asagu. Kakwa ak. Ye awa hasitu asagu ko a nadai hin. Ye awa Shwitita aya wenadai hin ayikta. Gwash Ḳukaháa dis aya aayí utian. Iqanachois art. Llidzi. Ye awe haqusti wan qanins ja kaltegenach awe hinde na gutch. Ye awe hatuati. Gwash qadne aya kegullidzi. Yat ayach hoo. Ye awe tlingit qusti. Hoo. Yat awe gwash dasa aya. Gwash ye ieji. Igullachuni at yat ayach. We hoo. Qa yuqatan so tlingit yuqatangi. Ye awe qaqtagach. Ya halil kohas. Haiti deshi yoel te kat yuan. Wasa hatu wasagu. Ya ke haguchlitzin yel te kat hada itqa hatu wu. Tu wulitzin qa awe. Utusaku chak. We qeqa qa. Ye awe has qustiyensu. A joy has to tuasagu yan hasu wane. Ya qusti yes. Yek kan chishuan.
Hatgeha ach kawu kachat surfing day with ʼtu'aat yak dat ye hayati. Ako ach wetsu do ye kuge the thickness ko Jisach yad ka ach jin chetsewa at.
Ah, Lidzi.
Naskau Yayigi radio show K2 Kusleek Gunachish Desai, the show's name, sounded like Marcia and Ruth.
Oh, you can.
Whole hour.
You can. Gonna cheese. You do some. Quash. Sheet cook. Qanea or he. Ya you did K200 has it was good so. Okay.
Yesu Neek. Do you want me to?
Gonna cheese.
Yesu Neek. Oh, sorry, I can't see my whole screen.
You get away.
Wait a minute. COP Clay do shoot. Yes, Glasgow, Scotland. Klinget ena klinget ani ka shade nach Wooch nachas ʼadudli.átk. Oops. My thing is too big. Sorry. Ya kunat ein ha'in wusti. Biden tan quadatan ye have ausaka shetuliatu. Kleit kush sit ya naslain yak ausakuk we kanadai hin kausakuk ka ish hini ka uachich. an shakakua itinakayati has du anidak ke has duksagadagu itinakayati shinkit anit du ya awu wani Wooch. Ja.
Ďukaháa, kanleek.
Gonna cheese.
Kanleek.
Yeah, well,
Way.
x'úx'u ʼadudli tuchtatan wasa ʼadk ya hadachkanki aya ltakatilingitani. Ḳukaháa just yidata ya hastutandatani. Tasakshwe Ḳukaháa achjiyis. Ye awe tlha qustir ya Ḳukaháa. Ye haskaqosti. Ya hadachkankisani dasa aya hastujite gachtuti. Khosatin ya qanahawe we atkatu. Asqwani qanah hasakausagan. Wan qanin zakhtu ye neek. Tatyaxsawe ye gaqwati ya lingitani. Ya hadachkankisani. Ya hatuwasagu yak atcha. Qa yak qusti. Tlidziko akadin qudisti. Chitle qodachawe ya kanatain ya lingitani. Cheesh.
Wasa iduasa klingen indigenous
Shukatku.
Ťukaku'u. Yeah, there's neek news about Ťukaku'u Ausaku.
Yeah, well. Just joy, just ziyak away. Yes, in a cage. Science at jiwu yuhan kwa tlek liji. Tlek hasawa skoko kanachewe. Ya kingisti ye wa ka tlek dihinyata. Tlek kak inachaya science yu hasaya sak nuch. Yuhan kwa just kuste. Ye awe eka ataya. Atxati at awe jaltakata de jirtuti at ya awane. Qaqanahawe chuchaqutaq yahaani qaqute yik'at qanahawe atul'ayan ye awa hasituasgu datyaqsawe ya'an datyaqsawe we k'at datyaqsawe we qute datyaqsawe we qis ye awa qanahawe ltakat atawe has awul'ayan yake kanleek.
Ďukaháa kusin. Kanleek ha'in kinigi COP adat. Ye owe x'úx'u achtundatani. Itinakayati lingitani. Du wutuwanei. Wutuwanei. Itinakayati lingitani wutuwanei. Kanleek.
I was trying to think Yejane you Clinket Haida housing. I don't know how to say it, but we put in 150 heat pumps trying to reduce the carbon in Southeast. So trying to make it living in where we live. I couldn't figure out how to make that. So.
Yeah, like, well, an exercise like this is fun, but it's also going to reveal like so much stuff we're going to have to figure out. Like, yeah, like a heat pump and a boiler. Like, we're going to have to figure that stuff out, and there's going to have to be these sort of committees that do some of this work, and then to talk about, being responsible and, like even oil, like from the ground, right? We're just going to end up using the word for, like the eich originates from cooking oil or oil that you would render, right? It's a rendering oil. If you go back, you get it from the seal and you get it from the sock. And then, so just sort of like taking some of those, like we're going to have to make a term, I think, for, well, they say ʼuqanihin is it means water that can burn. So there's this verb mode called the attributive. And so there's this way that you sort of, like whenever you say a lot of those things, like there's no way you could do that, you can actually take that middle part and it would be a thing that can do that. So if you said, tlell ade ʼuqaniye, it can't burn, but you could just say ʼuqani means it's flammable. So there's some wild things from that too, because it gets an irialis in there. It gets you get the conjugation prefix in there, and then you're gonna have a suffix on the end, and so that's how those things are gonna go. But they're gonna sound like negative things, like unqotayi would be something that it can sleep. So it means it makes it possible, or it can do this thing. That's as close as you can get. Like I was trying to get the speakers to, I was trying to figure out things like, you do this in English a lot. I can ride a bike. I can read. I can, especially like raising kids and stuff, we celebrate their accomplishments. But I said, how do you say I could ride a bike? And they said, I'm gonna ride a bike. I would just get a future mode every single time when I would ask them. But I think it's something like, it might need a little bit further sort of just asking the right questions sometimes. Okay. Heat pumps all around. All right, let's do it.
Neste heat pump age. Kunach tuasigu chesh ich or eich itinach ka much less dana yakewe.
Ah,
Gosh, geez. Ḳukaháa. Anyway, that's what we'll call it. Like it's oil that burns. Right? Okay, anybody else? Food or news? Take either one.
I have some food sentences.
Okay.
x'úx'u socnain as ish. Gaku socnain. You hastu sock way yananach. Recipe du chuni du ich outlitu ish. Ḳukaháa chutle ke chat what. Recipe god sock. Yeah.
Okay. Sheesh.
Ach, tuasagu I recipe Elias. Saknain itina chaditi.
Chatzir. We achtuasagu shtuch tuch saknain. Achtuasagu chosaku adidus iye. Shtuch tuch. Ja, just to cut that sourdough, rye, just to cut that. Ja, achtuasagu chosaku. Chatcho atlake.
Saknain competition.
Yeah, away. Wooch kagidi gachdus e. Yeah, away. It gwell. Igachtus sa cooking competition. Wooch kagidi gachdus e. Wooch kagidi and then a verb, and that's like to compete. Okay.
Good. I have a food one. To sa tlun ka ha datki sa tlun to Tlaswasa we una duji yes ya nas queen una duji yes yan akasaka clock hai de ya ka nash the hin the cut that datki hai yaok yek sa tlun do ya yawaneta the cock ik as tu ni Tichti de Khashawe Tadich to Aki Dus Dach the cock eat with the sheets Dugu our khas they eat with the sheet to clee eat the good the she de kuti what's that?
We slides hell to teeny that hechasaku asatune.
Got skinny.
Ah.
How about there?
Oh, okay. Jeez.
Where did we lose it at? Okay.
Just
Okay.
Yeah, naka sekat at.
Yeah. The cock eat with the sheets the go our class. To eat with the sheet, the clay to go ish the kati. To eat with the sheet, the silk haschash away sa tea nistatan nistat nach. Sister to us the good ta huch de yansa aayí.
Jeez.
Grandma's work, Herb. She does grandma's work.
Yeah. Well.
I wanted to put in the seal jerky and everything else we made, but it's too much.
Kinachike oi yetki has our school a de oi yeda dunia awa ha'atchai. Kinachike yake. Ya hech put to saku wasa at kakwane. Ya shinket ane ka. Chitlako had to was a go a ha'atchai kakatushi. Ya ha'ane cook. Katkidach at chai. Kinachike yake. Tuk Dane awe we shukatchu at chai ya ani dach ya chaltakatat atina chaya ti ha ani kaya yati ya halil ko has hasawas kuwan ya ohansu yik awe kleide hina ya we take a gutchin ku do inu chachtatan ye awe chana kawanik Gosh naska du shoy ach katago. Qone ach tlaka ach ish qaqawust. Elrasake uti. Jawe de ayachaguti tlainach. Yisuku aya haani. Yisuku hatlatki. Chanakanik Nali away at Hagu Yahaani dot. Just play Nachawe Naskedushuch Hat Wustien. Ye awa achtuas a gutsu Yahayet ki has our school. Ye awa Kich, what you hechen awa culture camp you do a song, aya. Kana kadunik. One kanins at kach aya. Kleich yegi. Hasawa he. We at kach we adetki. Dat insa. Sits a hit again. Like. We at the coast gani atake. Like. Uchgan hinege. Like. Just like a guns. Like a shita. Kochte gach to the koch. Kach sekanen. Eka atachasu koch. Yuk the awa hatu asaku. Heshwa to saku, one panins we niku kakayach watu. Kutu good weka, kutu good weka. Achtu asaku ya hayetki hasawasku. At ya wane yet atk. At joy heshwa saku was a atkakwane a kak. Chakawe at jich to tea at ya wane. Aka awit the kata taji digach to tea. We at. We not the she. Echwaji. When cheese.
Kaaxwaan.
Wait.
Gusawe Ishun sa.
The last one. Klingit enach dleitar enach Echo Cove. Kachu Chutznu ich de.
Gunas cheese.
Yuck, Good cheese.
Yakawe, Yahaye, we kusin, ʼadudli, ʻáayí.
So a couple of pointers from tonight's is all great. So we need to keep doing. To say we need something, if it's not a noun, okay, so if it's a noun, you just say plug it in to blank itinech hayati itinech hatyati. You want to tie some big verb in there, you totally can. But you say itinech hatyati, itinech hayati. Then you just fill in the verb phrase. I need to just go boating around or driving around, whatever the thing is. We need to go looking for the food of our ancestors. So the is just it. So we need it, but then you want to put, and then you could just say whatever the thing is. And you could do that with a noun too, if you want to. The other thing is ʼadudli and ʼaayí is for kids, but when there are kids, we just switch it to yetki. The ʼadudli, the D part, is a contraction from ut and yetki. So a single child or a group of children is called ʼaayí or ʼadudli. It's interchangeable, it's just a dialect thing. But how would you say a single child?
Yadi.
It wouldn't be yadi. Well, if it was mine, but just to say, hey, look at that kid.
Shatkatsko or Yadakatsko.
Well, that's one way, but I find this,
Wait.
I don't want to put a gender on it.
Wait, Yeti.
Wait, that's got to belong to something.
Yetki.
So
Yet.
it's going to follow a similar pattern though, ut and yetki. But what's interesting though, is I'll tell you this, it's going to have ut, but the second word, the second part won't be yadi.
Katsku.
Yeah, away. You lost.
How many variations are there of that? Because it's like we just listed about 5 or 6.
Right. Well, so to say just a child, ʼadudli.átk, that's a child. And it's really interesting because it means ʼadudli is adolescent and then at is something, which is really interesting too. Children is ʼaayí or ʼadudli. Those are the same word, just one is contracting. But you would think it would be ḳaayí or ḳaayí, which you could say, people would understand what you're saying. But if you just want to say, hey, there's a child over there, right? Ha, ʼadudli aayí. Hey, there's children over there. ʼadudli aayí. And you might say, aayí. Okay, good stuff. Okay, well, we'll pick it up on, Yana.
Itina Káxwaan. What form of the verb do you use? It matches with we need it, we're going, or something. Can you give us some examples?
I do believe you can use a future if you need to say we need to do this thing in the future. But if you talk about right now, what you're going to look up is find the negative perfective of the verb. Throw an I on the end. That's the secret pattern. So
negative perfective.
Sene, I did it. Kech sene, I did do it. So it's sa, right? So I'm going to take that sa version. Do you want me to do it? And same with that other thing. I need to eat. And even though it's going to be in a perfective, but for now, look up the negative perfective, throw a suffix on the end. Then you've got it.
If you could expand that in a template with some examples, I think it would stick a little better with me, at least.
Yeah, what'd you say? It'll stick to my brain. Yeah, I'll put one together.
Itinach.
I need to read it. Whatever the thing. Examples. I'll cook some examples. On the grease. Cut examples. Okay. Any other questions? We're gonna jump to Ḳukaháa Éish. If the audio works, which it should.
I have one question. I'm going to try to say, if you were somewhere else, then you don't have to die. Chagusage. Ye iwuti. Chush. Tsas. Ach iti nachyati. Ikukajagi. Did I use the possessive form on ach iti nachyati the right way there?
Yeah. And so but then you wouldn't have to. That's a pretty interesting thing, because whenever we get some of these thoughts in English, we got to sort of sometimes get to like, what is the meaning? So I'd say, if you were somewhere else, so, but the one thing is like, that's putting it already into this sort of dependent clause, so we wouldn't want to tack on 2 more. So I would probably say, And then when it's coming down to like wouldn't need to die, I would probably say wouldn't die. I would probably just go straight to a future for that. But, you know, and sometimes we got to sort of adjust these things just because the thing it likes to tie two things together. But once you start tying in more than two, it kind of seems like it wants to just break it into multiple phrases. So I would probably say "Gwashchaguchsa ye iti wana." Maybe if you're somewhere else, you wouldn't die. But there are probably some other ways to say it too, because you could talk about there's different ways to say these things too. Like you wouldn't disappear, or you wouldn't walk away from people, or you could just say "Nana achich You're gonna walk right into death. So there's different ways you can sort of, when it comes Lingi, we got some ways to talk about dying because it's such a big deal. Like every culture does, right? And some of
Sorry,
No.
I got a short memory, so I got to grab you now. If you were somewhere else, you wouldn't die.
that's what I would say.
So cha gusa ye iwuti slash iwuna.
Yeah, kesh. I'd probably say kesh ikwana.
Clef ik gwana, you wouldn't die.
Mm-hmm.
If you were somewhere else, you wouldn't die. Clef ik gwana.
But then if you want to sort of, it depends on how we're doing. Like there's also, we got to talk about like our intention. Like if we're saying like someone is, you know, like if you're trying to put a little bit of cause behind it, I would probably say maybe something like something like that. Maybe you're not going to walk towards your own end. But that's one where I'd have to probably go to a speaker to see what they would say. But then there'd have to be some intention, like what's going to kill, like are they going to die because they like one of the things I was talking about earlier, which is a sensitive thing, was like people go missing, and I think one of the reasons they go missing is like respecting the land is really like, it's so interesting to me because after Kaaxwaan gave his presentation, I was talking about this Gwich'in person I talked to who said, he's telling me stories, and he says, when I was 8 years old, I started asking my parents, like, can I go like way over here? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. And they would let him go way by himself, and he'd be gone all day. And it was really interesting. I would not let my 8-year-old go like, 3 miles out of town. Like, but he said, we just knew the land. We lived the land. We knew the land. And so it was a different era, and it was a different level of understanding. But then I was talking about today, like, I'm not trying to offend I'm trying to disrespect anybody, but there's a bit of a carelessness with the land. You just sort of like just take off and go. But then other things, a lot of things can happen too, which is sort of, when we talk about respecting the land, it's sort of like you understand that there's a power to it. Like we were doing a video, and someone's like, well, I'm going to walk over this way. And I was like, well, you should come this way. And then this was our film person. Then they sunk up to their waist, So then I gave this big lecture about like knowing the land, and like sort of like if you don't know it, then you listen to people who do, and stuff like that. Or you could say ekadikakwagut. Or you could say ukhkekwati ikusti. So ekadikakwagut is like it's gonna come upon you. And sometimes you could just leave it like that. And then, but then there you could also say ukhkekwati ikusti. Your life will be out of control. But it just kind of depends on yeah, I helped the person. I said, now listen next. But it was indirect. I just made it as if I was teaching the children about the land. Sorry, I don't just chew people out. That's a good question though, because yeah, sometimes when we're thinking of these things too, we gotta Not by that, but it was raining and the camera it came upon the camera. Kashuk nanai, the electric death. Well, I think it just shorted out. It wasn't that big a deal. He got a new camera. His company got him a new camera. And you guys will see this video come out someday. There's quite a few mistakes in my Tlingit. And I also talked really fast. I was like, why do I talk so fast? It's gonna be hard to make like subtitles out of it. And I had this big funny looking facial hair, so you all get to see that. Okay. Ḳukaháa Éesh Sh.
Chatsu neek ʼukaháa ʼadudli.átk itwasaguge. Okay. Halloween na adiawe adadach neek x'úx'u. NPR Qaidach Yadu Yaki Ḳukaháa Halloween na Adi 2021. Lizzo we Yoda Katsko Yachshwudzene Ҭахәаса Yaki du costume. Cardi B Ḳukaháa Morticia Adams Yachshwudzene. John Legend Yenanachtsu Adams Kuyachaswuti. LeBron James we horror films do tuatikunach. Achue Freddy Krueger Yachshwudzene. James Jigate Eichtsu Krueger Yahai Ḳukaháa. How? Katy Perry Ḳukaháa COVID Genak Yahuti. Dukawu Orlando Bloom Wekuna Guna Adi Dukach Auditi Yakecha. Wizard of Oz Yisitinga. How? Dorothy Khusiti Harry Styles Ya Halloween. Somewhere over the rainbow Ehayati. Atskani Harry Potter has awatu ku'u kit ancient. He who shall not be named Yahuti we Lil Nas Ech. Adusa do Halloween costume ituati. Agawe Halloween yes at Yachshi Zanega Yuhan. Hujaya gonna cheese.
Gonna cheese.
Łukaháa.
Okay.
Kun kaduniki yachawe iyatu kinach Łukaháa gonna cheese. Ya ohan ka Avengers haswusitiyim. Ya khatka hayatki. Kleshas awaltin ka awekoyaw dahay. Usk has yati. You do I guess you gartitletini ke Ghostbusters ka Spider-Man ka dasa. Clack Bluey hatawasaku. Ha yake Bluey konachawe yake koyaw dahay. Kadane has outlayach. Ya Australia dachawe wish neek.
Gonna cheese to Usague, Katy Perry, the COVID vaccine. Yake away, gonna cheese.
Yeah.
ʼadudli.átk Harry Styles.
Ḳukaháa. Wait, Wizard of Oz, we ha do sa a Káxwán Éesh Sh neek x'úx'u. What's that do a sa ku? Isa kuke? I do sa Káxwán. Hutsa a Káxwán. Ḳukaháa the cut x'úx'u. X'úx'u hi. X'úx'u kunachoe au x'kanen. That's right. Dorothy, Toto, Tin Man, Lion. Tlellach tua oshkul the cutas. We tlellushke katun de tani. Yeah, away, yechatitiko. Heshwasa oti kwachakut ku hasti twasagu. Bards koa akawa. Yeo akaushahit. Death of the author, you do a sago. We dasa has yecha to a sakututlatini. Tleshas to kusti. Hatquat plague one qanins has to aayí was a teen. Hasu has to tunditani at the khoyi of sene. Ichasaka.
Cancel the Gawa author Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, away. Cancel culture.
Ishan.
Wait,
Frank Baum, Atlain, Kashahit, Achtla, we, she read them, and they are odd.
That too, we nikuku NPR adachoe we chat.
Oh, heshwasaku.
No. What's todo chwasatin kukwatsech? Tleshwe Kate la kaushihit ko. Tlesha kaushihit we Kate. I guess the dog didn't write it. So if I see Toto, I'll kick him. Okay. Maybe it's all fixed. Who knows? Adusa awaska. I think we left off here. So there's to review. There's quite a bit here. Yeah. I'll just have him say it. It'll be better. Okay, hit this one. Oh, hold on. Let me share the sound. Okay.
ʼadudli.átk. Qathini aayí we ka. Ḳukaháa adaqunas gas it twasaguin kakholani. Sawakta katal. ʼadudli.átk kadishtanin chak. ʼadudli.átk. x'úx'u awak qwallach. You a cake nchtakha. Awet tai go do high it tachawa. Kshudiqunas guts. ʼadudli.átk. Ta sister G shutli qas. Awa as a kachak nuts at 2 de. Marik sewa ask. Qaj. Yeshu shade to hook nuts. The cut at yaki yakutsiti.
Okay. Now we're all cut up. It was fast mode. And whatever you're getting from this, so this is a master speaker, telling a big story. So we're going to go ahead and listen to the next line.
The cut at your key. The cut at your key. The cut at your key.
What are you all hearing?
Ḳukaháa yagi.
Your key.
And what do we got for translation?
Everything today?
Well, I would probably say going back to word order, because yagi is possessed, I'd probably say a day for everything. Everything's day.
Ḳukaháa. Ḳukaháa. Ḳukaháa.
Ḳukaháa. Me, however. Or for me.
Ḳukaháa.
There's an H in there.
Ḳukaháa.
Oops.
Ḳukaháa.
Might be long.
Ḳukaháa.
Is there a W or Ḳukaháa?
Ḳukaháa.
I think it just ends with the ha.
I stand by the possessive me.
On that last one, is there a ye after yagi? Just slow down and listen.
The cut at your key. The cut at your key. Ḳukaháa.
It from people stand.
Let's go look at, I would say this is a verb.
Plant.
The time comes for it there.
That's what I would think. Let's go take a look. So there's a noun, Ḥukaháa. And when I first heard this, that's what I thought I heard. And Ḥukaháa is a season. So like fall, winter, spring, summer, those are all called Ḥukaháa. And he and I worked on another project where we were working on that word. Oh, slippery today. Here's your Juno. Drive slow. Start sliding around. 70-mile-an-hour days are over till summertime. It's been decreed. The other day I was really speeding and I kind of looked down. I was like, whoa, I'm really speeding. And I looked up and there was a school bus and a city bus and I wasn't catching up to either of them. Okay, back to the business. So we'll go look up ha. Up. And there's quite a few. We're going to jump just to this one. We're going to go down to the time for it. So this is a good one to know how to use as well. And so usually we hear ʼatquwaha, the time has come for it. And you could, this is another one where I think if you're trying to tie it to some verb, leave it as ʼatquwaha. You could say, if it's kind of a noun, you could probably say ʼkaahwe coffee time has come, right? So I would say you can attach it right to another noun. I wouldn't attach this to a verb. I would just say ʼatquwaha adaye jikachtune. It's time for us to work on it. right? And so just tie two verbs together and leave it as this it, right? If we go down, we see ʻākhuha. So there's a number of these where you get to a repetitive one, handing something. They seem to be some of these motion verbs, where instead of having some sort of repetitive suffix, you just go to the repetitive a suffix on the verb, you do a repetitive suffix right here. So like ijit khwati, I gave it to you. Ijich khwati, I give it to you all the time. You know, so on a regular basis, I give you the coffee, the money, whatever the thing is. Ajich tuti atya'uwne, we give respect. And that's becoming a regular process. So ʻākhuha, the time comes for it regularly. Yakhkuha is seasons. Very similar type of thing.
Is that related to Ḳukaháa this month?
Ḳukaháa, that's the other ha for digging up.
Oh,
So
okay.
digging
Digging, scratching. Oh, geez.
But yeah, that is a case where you've got a verb with a very similar root and almost an identical structure, which doesn't happen a whole lot, but it does happen sometimes. And then sort of like as we go, we can also, there'll come a time when you are the ones who are doing this and you get to make all the decisions. But and then so some of it, you might plug something in here, like the time comes for it, and you leave it kind of general, kind of vague. But then as you go further, and even it might be your whole second pass through the whole thing when you listen to the whole thing, and you start tying things together a little bit more, maybe. But so we say a day for everything exists, a day for everything. The time comes for it.
A create Ḳukaháa Éesh Sh, a season neek the cut out. A create Ḳukaháa Éesh Sh, a season neek the cut out. A create Ḳukaháa Éesh Sh, a season neek the cut out.
Sale. No.
A create Ḳukaháa Éesh Sh, a season neek the cut out.
Late car nooch.
A create Ḳukaháa Éesh Sh.
Ah. We'll listen back.
A create Ḳukaháa Éesh Sh, a season neek the cut out.
A season.
And I usually put these in parentheses. Like you could put it in italics. You could make that shift if you move it to a publication later. For this, I usually just put it in quotation marks. Then it's pretty tough to hear the CH on there.
A create Ḳukaháa Éesh Sh, a season neek the cut out.
Hach ye saknuch. So this CH, when this pops up right before the verb, it will pretty often knock out that A. So you'd say ye asak, or you'd say ye ayasak is what I would expect, but you go from ye ayasak to ye saknuch. So putting the nuch on there changes the verb form a little bit. I think another one that's pretty common is when we go from ye do wasak to ye do sagan. So that's another one where the wa, that wa in do wasak is the classifier. So when that switches to a 0, you go to sak. Do sak, do sagan, do sak, ye do sak nuch.
ʻadudli.átk ʻḲukaháa ʻÉesh Sh neek.
So how are we going to translate this one?
White people give everything a season, everything.
Yeah, maybe not giving though.
Name, call.
Yeah. And I'll probably put maybe, because that's what the akshay is doing. So yikshay, akshay, there's this whole range of these little things. Giwe, and they can get really long, but there are different ways to sort of, like one of the things, like really going from, I think, intermediate to advanced is a lot of the work that we're doing, like talking about things right now, giving our opinion on things, and then also theorizing, right? Guaxie, guaxiwe, yeokshe. There's a whole bunch of different things. Askiwe, and they can all, there's a bunch of little particles that can all combine to just sort of push things into this thing like, maybe it's this way, maybe it's that way. Who knows if it's anything like this? And there's a whole bunch of ways to do this. So as we're sort of doing this work, we just sort of pay attention to how the speakers are doing that and what it's basically signaling to us. Okay. Okay, we hit the 2-minute mark. Keep going on this. We're gonna let's try and get to, we'll see how we do on Wednesday. So we're gonna keep doing this. We'll probably see who has news stories to share with us on Wednesday. It was very fun. I enjoyed that. Next week, we'll probably do another dialogue exercise. So we did these sort of things. We break into groups and we came up with like model conversations. One was like 2 people disagree about something and then come to a resolution. And I think next, yeah, we'll try something a little bit on the spot. I got an idea, but we'll try it next Monday. I think for Wednesday, let's hear more news stories. If you didn't have a chance to share one, bring one. It'll be fun. And then, okay.
Oh, I was gonna say, do we have the other group on Wednesday?
Oh, that's right. We got a big
super class, right?
Okay. Table all of that for Monday. So moved. we gotta translate that Robert guy. Sunny, Robert's Rules of Orders. Okay. Gunchi Shuhan, Yikewe Yejni, Yahayu Katangida. Rachikish Katni Kaya de Khit. Achtuasaku, Kadenu Tusaku, Yakecha. Yanaskiki. We'll do some group stuff. We'll do some fun stuff, some challenging stuff. Always just try and think of things that you wish, if only someone had told me this when I was getting started. Because we'll have beginners there and intermediate. It'll be fun. So we'll see you folks on Wednesday. Naskiki aya yewushkachtustin. Ilchish.
Akshay dle kach ye sak nuch Robert Rules of Order ye kujati shtakat.
Yeah. There's a Robert's Rules for everything.
Yeah, oh, we're gonna teach.
Goodness, cheese.
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 Goodness, cheese.
Cheese.